Okay, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Walaikum salam.
Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulil kareem. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. So alhamdulillah, once again, we are continuing our effort to learn the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have one guest student today, Brother Abrar. So we want to say welcome to him. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Abrar.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Habib, Jazakallah for inviting me. I appreciate it. Jazakallah.
No worries. So, Brother Abrar, normally we keep the video off, but you're more than welcome to leave it on. But we normally keep it offline. It's okay with
Sure.
you. Yeah. Okay. So, looks like we have enough people to start. So, we are going to start now. And Brother Javed, Assalamu alaikum. Brother Javed, very quiet today.
No, I said Walaikum Assalam, but I was mute. I'm okay.
Acha, acha. Chale. Okay, okay. So, inshallah, let's begin. So today, what I would like to do is last time we talked about Fele Majhul, right? Now, Fele Majhul means passive voice, okay? And all this time we have been doing by default active voice, right? So this subject is quite new to all of us, and this is the very first time we dealt with this subject. So I feel that last time we did learn a lot of things. However, we need to repeat some of it to understand better. So in order to take another shot at this, I would like to do some more review. And we may have to go back like 5 or 6 sessions. So if you guys remember, we did Jumla Felia. How many people remember that?
Yeah, the one which starts the verb.
Yes. So this is a verbal sentence. Okay. So what are the components of a Jumla Felia? First of all, it starts with a fail. Then it must have a file.
Maf'ul.
And then it has maf'ul. Yes. So the English for fail is like verb. The file is the subject or the doer, right? And the maf'ul is the object on which the action is taking place. We also learned that in a given sentence, Jumla Felia, a file could be hidden or it could be visible. Remember that part?
Yeah.
Okay. When it is hidden, we have the 14 different combinations with the pronoun. Who remembers that? So we have fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat. Remember that one?
Yeah.
So those are with the pronouns. There are how many pronouns? 14. 6 for male,
14.
6 for female, and second person, third person, first person. So when a file is hidden, we have 14 variations. We can make 14 different variations of the file. However, when file is visible, we can only have either number 1 or number 4. Number 1 for the male and number 4 for the female.
I think that.
Remember that part? Okay. Now, why am I telling you this? Because for passive voice, in order to understand that, we need to review this component. Okay. Similarly, a maf'ul could be hidden or it could be visible. Okay. If it's hidden, it's normally a pronoun. Yeah. Okay. Everybody with me on this one so far?
Yep.
All right. So some feedback will help. Brother Kabir, you good with this?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. So we also know that a jumla felia, we have two kinds. We have, or two kind of verbs. We have one where we need fail plus file,
Mm.
and this is enough for the sentence to be complete. Okay. For example, we can say jalasa zaidun. What is the meaning of jalasa zaidun?
Zaidun sat.
Zaid sat down, right? Now, in this jumla, or in this combination of fail, the action is happening on the file. What is the verb here? And who is the file? Right here, right? He is the doer. Now, tell me, is this visible or is it hidden?
Visible.
Visible. So when it is visible, we know that it is going to take the huwa or the number 1 or number 4 siga of the pronouns, right? In this sentence, the meaning is complete. We know that somebody sat down. We don't think of about anything else. The action is happening or affecting the doer, right? But similarly, we also have another sentence. We have something like fail plus file plus maful. For example, I'm going to say nasara zaidun. Now, this is making sense, but it is leaving some curiosity. Zaid helped, but right away the question comes in mind, who did it help? Right? So we're going to say Hamidan. What are we going to say? Hamidan. So in this case, who's the file? This
Zaid.
is your file, and this is your object, right? So these kind of sentences where you don't need the maf'ul, they are known as
Lazim.
fi'l lazim. What are they known as?
Fi'l lazim.
Fi'l lazim, mashallah. And then for the second one, where you must need the maf'ul, they're known as fi'l muta'addi.
Muta'addi.
Are we good with this?
Yes.
So the
Yes.
very first thing you should know from this, if we are dealing with fi'l lazim, no passive voice. Is that making sense?
Mhm.
If we are dealing with fail and file, we cannot make a passive voice of that
Yes.
sentence. So that's a rule. I'm telling you a rule. So in order for the passive voice to be constructed, it has to have a fail mutaaddi combination. Fail, file plus maful. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So with this, the next thing is we have something called active voice. Okay. In active voice, the file is known. What is known in the active voice?
File.
File is known. In the passive voice, the file is unknown, or we don't mention it. Making sense? The difference between active voice and passive voice is that in the active voice, the file is known. And in the passive voice, the file is unknown, or we don't mention it. Okay? Or we don't know. We don't know the file. Don't know the file. Okay. So if you remember from your previous slide, how was the example? The active voice was Harry ate 6 shrimps at dinner. When you make it a passive voice in English, you say at dinner, 6 shrimp were eaten by Harry. Is the file still mentioned here?
Mm-hmm. No.
Yes, the file is
Yes.
still mentioned here. In English, when we are making a fi'l majhool, then the file is still mentioned, but the order has changed. See, it used to be ate, and it becomes were eaten. And Harry was in the beginning, and now Harry is at the end. The action is done on Harry. Okay, but in Arabic, the goal or the mission is for making fi'l majhool that the file is not going to be mentioned. Is that making sense? What is our goal? That what are we trying to do in a
Will not
fi'l
mention
majhool?
it.
We are trying to
Not
hide the file.
right.
Okay, so what were some of the examples we did last time? For example, we did Nasara, yeah, Zaidun, Hamidan. Can we do the translation first? Zaid
They helped Hamid.
Hamid.
Hamid. How do we know? Because Zaidun is Rafa,
Rafa.
Hamidan is Nasab, right? And Nasara is Fele Madi. Now we want to say Hamid was helped. So, and this is the file,
Zaid is gone now.
Maful, and the fail. Making sense? Our goal is we don't want to mention the file anymore. So Zaid has to go. You see what I did? Hamid was helped. Did I mention Zaid here?
No.
No.
No. If
Mr. Hamid.
in English, I could say Hamid was helped by Zaid. In English, that would be correct. But in Arabic, the idea behind passive voice is to hide the file or to not mention it. So it will become, what was the rule last time? The last one, we don't change. The one before it, we put a kasra. Anything left with the haraka, it was fatha, we change into dhamma. Okay. Then if we don't mention Zaid, it will be Hami then.
Done.
Yes. Now, but again, if we look at it, this is still the fail, and this is maf'ul. Making sense? But we said in the earlier slide that we cannot have, the minimum we need is fail and file. Yes. We need to have a file, must the jumla has to have a file. So in this case, when we took the file away, we cannot just leave the maf'ul there. We have to convert this maf'ul into file. So we're gonna call it Hamidun. Nusira Hamidun. But is this a maf'ul now anymore, or is not maf'ul anymore?
It's not.
It's not. But can we call it file?
Yes.
No, because
No.
file is hidden. We are replacing this maf'ul with the file. So the language, the people of the language said, okay, how do we deal with this? This is not the real file. We actually took the maf'ul and made it into a file, or it's used in place of a file. So you cannot have the name of a file. They call it naib file. Naib file mean it is a deputy subject. Is that making sense? Last time we talked about it, but we didn't know what that mean. So what I'm trying to explain to you now, that when we make the passive voice, the file has to go, and then the maf'ul needs to be changed into rafa. When you change into rafa, it acts at the file, but we cannot call it file because it is not the file. Original file was hidden, so we call it a naib file. Now, this will make more sense if I take you back. Question, Brother Javed?
Yeah. So the meaning of Nusra Hamidun is Hamid helped somebody.
Hamid was helped.
No, but that would be Hamidan, right?
No, no, no. That is the thing. When we are making a passive voice, and again, this is the rule made by the people of the language. So we have to play by the rule. They're saying when you want to make an active voice into a passive voice, you have to change the verb by this, following this pattern. The last letter,
Okay.
the haraka will not change. The letter behind it will go kasra, and anything before this letter, if there are more than one letter, and if they have haraka on it, they all will be changed into dhamma.
Okay.
When you do that, then you cannot leave the maful alone by in nasab. You have to change it into rafa, because the
Oh,
jumla felia needs a file. But in this case, maful was doing the job of the file, so they
okay.
cannot call it file originally. They would have to call it something else, naib file.
No, file. No,
Okay.
file.
Okay. Now this will juggle your memory a little bit. So remember when we had jumla ismiya, what were the two parts of jumla ismiya? We had the
Ism.
mubtada and khabar. Yes.
Yeah.
Remember that part? But remember, there was a time when we had to add anna
Yeah.
to bring the emphasis.
Yeah.
What it did, it changed the mubtada into nasab. That was one of the conditions of anna. Anna said, I play by my rule. If I am coming in, mubtada has to go into nasab. So do we still call it mubtada?
Yeah.
No, we call it ism anna.
Oh, it's one. Okay.
Remember? And this khabar is known as khabar anna.
Do not know.
Khabar of anna. So same thing here. When I change the maf'ul to act as the file, technically I cannot simply call it file. I have to call it naya file.
Okay.
Okay. So I think this should clear your concept of how we are dealing with this. Any questions?
No.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody else? Looks like everybody's so quiet. Did I lose you guys? Because see, I'm telling you, this is a
That's
little bit
clear, yeah.
complex topic.
Simple. Yeah.
It will simple if you just go with the flow and try to
This.
absorb it. Okay. So let me try one more way or give you more detail. Just give me a quick sec.
Copy to subject. Now file. Now file.
Okay. All right. So let me show you some more stuff. Okay. This is again the same thing, but let's see if this makes any sense. Okay. Fail majhul. What is the meaning of majhul?
Passive.
Passive. In or
Unknown.
other words, unknown. Unknown. What is the meaning of majhul? Unknown.
Unknown.
Okay. What is unknown here when we are making a majhul? The
The
file
file.
is unknown.
File.
Right.
File is
And we're dealing with Madi first, past tense. So Nasara Hamidun Zaidun or Hamidan Zaidan is supposed to be Zaidan. I made a mistake here. It's supposed to be Zaidan. So this is Nasara. Is the file known?
yes.
So we're gonna call it. Now we have the knowledge to say this is fail maruf. Fail maruf is the action where we know the file. So we know that Hamid is the file. Making sense? And maful is Zaidun. Now, if I change the nasira into nusira, then it become what? It becomes
Majhul.
fail majhul, and the file disappear, and only thing remains is Zaidun was maful. When it becomes here,
Now file.
so we had to change Zaidan into Zaidun, so it becomes Rafa, and Rafa is normally file. Yes?
That is not.
This is Rafa, right? So
Yes.
the way you identify a file is by looking at the status. So anything which is in Rafa is the file. So I cannot call it file anymore. I'm going to call it naib file. I'm doing the same thing again, just in a little different way. Okay, making sense? So maf'ul gets the status of file when file is not mentioned. When it does that, it is known as the naib file or deputy file. We cannot call it just file. Okay, all right, let's see, look at the sentence here. How do you identify the file? In the first sentence, Nasara Zaidun. Who can give me the translation of that?
Nasara Zaidun?
Yeah,
Zaidun
Zaid
helped.
helped.
Zaid helped, right? Now,
Yeah.
who's the file?
Zaid.
Zaid.
Zaid. Is it visible or is hidden?
Visible.
Visible.
Visible. If it was hidden, it will be Nasara only, right?
Yes.
Okay, how do you change it to, look at the second sentence. Nusira
Zaid.
Zaidun.
Zaidun. Now, who was helped here?
Zaid
Zaid.
was
But was it
So
Zaid the file or it was Maful?
knife
Zaid
file.
was
Zaid
the
was
It was the Maful because Zaid was helped.
and we need
Yeah.
to change that to a file.
And we need
So
to make it so then it will be known as
Knife.
Nasa
Naib
file.
file. Naib mean he is the deputy.
Ah,
Deputy.
Okay, deputy, or like a president and a vice president. So it is a vice
Zaid
file.
helped. Zaid was
Voice.
Another word for naib will be like a file and a vice file.
Zaidun.
Is that making sense,
Vice
guys?
file.
Yeah, it's getting, I mean, if I'm not jumping to some other thing, here, Nusra Zaidun means Zaid was helped. What if we want to say Zaid helped somebody, like unknown? So is that possible to do it, or is it?
Okay, so remember last time we said there are two reasons for hiding the file.
Three.
Two or three?
I'll tell you the third one.
Okay, so one reason was that we don't know the file. First of all, one reason could be the file is not known,
Or it's not mentioned.
right? Or we don't know the file. I mean, if I say a robbery happened in the neighborhood, we still don't know who did it, do we? We'd have to do investigation to find out who actually did the robbery. We say, oh, the house was robbed. Yeah. In that specific example, the file is not known. We don't know yet who the file is. But sometimes we know the file, but we intentionally don't want to mention it. Sometimes we want to keep it anonymous, and sometimes we want to keep it anonymous out of respect. That's another thing I picked up today. Sometimes the file is known, but intentionally it was done to make it anonymous. Sometimes the file is already by default we know. For example, we say khulikal insana or khulikal insanu, that insan was created. Now, do we need to tell that Allah is the one who created, or is it already a known fact?
It's a known fact.
It's a known fact. So in that example, we really don't need to mention the name of Allah. It's understood that Allah is the one who created man. Okay. Okay. So what were the steps of making the fi'l madi into?
My file.
Yeah,
Okay. Let me write it down for you. Okay. Where's my piece of paper? Okay. Let's see if I can find it. All right. So if we are dealing with Madi, fi'l Madi, right? What Siga number we use first? The number one.
One.
Yeah. So we have Nasara. Let's say take one example, Nasara. So it will become, let's not put any haraka. The last one will stay the same. What was the haraka on the second one?
Kasra.
It will become, this was fatha, so this will become kasra. What was the haraka on the noon?
Fatha.
Fatha. So it will become
Dhamma.
Dhamma. So number 2, let's say we have fataha. Okay, how are you going to make it?
T.
So last one will stay the same.
Futiha.
The kasra will go on the second one, and the first one will have
Futiha.
futiha. Okay, so it will be futihal babu. The door
Open.
was opened. Making sense?
Yes.
Fataha, he opened the door. Actually, we didn't put the door. So Fatahal Baba will be he opened the door. Correct? Because the door is not mentioned, so the translation is he opened. Futihal Babu, the door was opened. Right? Do we know who the door was opened by?
No.
We are hiding it. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Or is it understood that he opened it?
No.
Yes.
We can see that Futihal Babu.
Futiha.
But let's not
Yeah.
go there right now. But did you understand what is going on here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Fi'l Madi, you take the first sigha, you apply the rule. The last letter you don't touch. The previous letter you put a kasra. And any letters behind that which has haraka. If there was more than one, let's say if there was alif here, and it had in, if there was, like for example, like this, in Sara or something like that, right? Then you would also put, I'm just giving you an example. This is not the correct example, but I'm saying if there was another letter with a haraka, it will also have dhamma. Making sense?
Yep.
Okay. All righty. Then let's go ahead and talk about Fi'l Mudari. Last time we did Fi'l Madi. Today we want to talk about Fi'l Mudari. So idea is the same. What is the idea? Yansuru
Okay.
Zaidun Hamidan. What is the fail here?
Nasara.
Yansuru
Yansuru.
is the verb, right? Nasara, when it becomes Mudare, it's called.
Yansuru.
Okay, this is the verb. Who's the subject?
Zaid.
Zaid. How do we know? Because it's in Rafa.
Dhamma.
Who is the object?
Hamidan.
Amidun. What is our goal? We don't want to mention Zaid anymore. So what are we going to say?
And
Yansuru
Yansuru.
Amidun.
Amidun.
Okay. So how do we deal with the Yansuru now? The step 1, last letter do not touch. So it's going to stay.
Yeah.
True.
The letter behind it, the second one, will change into Fatha. Okay. And if there is a sukoon, it will stay as sukoon. But the alamat mudare, which is ya, whatever it haraka it has, it will take a dhamma. So it will become Yun Saru Hamidun. Yun Saru Hamidun. Hamid is being helped. And what is the knife file here?
Hamidan.
Hamidun. Why is it knife file?
Because it was maful.
Maful.
Because we converted Hamidan into Hamidun, and the Fi'l Mudare was converted into from active voice to passive voice, and that is why it's known as knife file. So can we go over the rule again? For step number 1, the last letter stays the same, do not touch. The second letter will change into Fatha. And the third is change of sign of the Mudare, the Alamat Mudare into Dhamma.
So Abid, can we also say Yun? So like if you want to drop Hamid and we say Yun Sarohu, he was helped. So we do not know who helped him, but he was helped. Is that okay to do that way?
That is also possible, yes. Okay. So let's look at this now. If I say something like Daraballahu,
Oh,
Daraballahu, Masalan. Okay. This is the example. The fail is right here, right? Daraba. Everybody sees that? Allah is file. Is it visible or hidden?
Visible.
Visible. The maf'ul is given.
Masalan.
Masalan, that Allah gives example.
Example.
So, do we need a knife file? In this sentence, do we need a knife file?
No.
No.
No. Why? Because it's already active voice. Yes, because we know the file, we know the maf'ul. You see, now I'm trying to give you the same idea in a different way. So, ma'ruf mean known. Okay. So, in this example, I can identify the fail, I can identify the file, I can identify the maf'ul. So, there is no need for the naib file. Now, khuliqal insanu, khuliqal insanu, is the file known?
No,
No.
Is mentioned here or not?
it is not.
Not. But khuliqal insanu mean a man was created. The man was created. Do we know who created man?
Allah.
Allah. So do we need to mention that here, like explicitly?
No.
No.
So in this case, insan is naib file because Allah is not mentioned. So this is majhul, unknown. Brother Abrar, are you still with us?
I am very much with you.
Okay, so I know this might not make any sense to you because you just started.
No, it is.
Okay, Alhamdulillah.
follow
If
it
you're
quite
following it somewhat, then I'm very happy to hear that.
I'm actually following it very well.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, good job. There was another brother who was supposed to come. I don't know if he made it today. I can't find him here, but maybe he would probably join us next time. Okay. Now again, what is the example of lazim I said? Habitat amaluhum. Habitat amaluhum. In this case, what is the fail? Habitat.
Habit.
Amaluhum, their amal. In this case, we only know the fail and the file. We don't know the maf'ul. Then do we need a knife file?
No.
No. And what kind of fail is this?
Act.
Fail lazim. Why is it fail lazim? Because we have the fail and the file. We don't have the maf'ul. Habitat amaluhum mean their deeds were wasted. Okay? Their deeds were gone. So we don't need to know who the maf'ul is here, right? Because in this case, maf'ul is not needed to understand the meaning of the sentence. So this is the example of fail al-adim. But here, Katala Da'udu Jaluta, meaning somebody killed. Who killed? Dawood. And killed who? Jalut. So who's the file? Dawood. Who's the maf'ul? Do we have all three components? Verb,
Yes.
fail, file, and maf'ul. Is it active voice? Can we make a passive voice of this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Can we make a passive voice of this?
No.
No. So how do we make the passive voice of this one? We are going to say, we're going to first write down the word without any harakas. The last one was fatha. This is it mazi or mudare first of all? Is this mazi or mudare?
Mazi.
Mazi.
Then we have a kasra here and the kaf will have
Dhamma.
utila. Then Daudu we're going to be hiding it and we're going to say jalutun.
Dilution. Yes. And that is
And that will become knife file.
maf'ul, so we turn that into a maf'ul.
Making sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. This is what I wanted to clarify today. Okay. So this is done. And now let's look at another example here. And this will be a little bit of testing here. This is a hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La taj'alu buyutakum qaburan." What is the meaning of this? I'm sure most of you know, understand.
Don't make your houses like
Do not make your homes graveyards.
Gravy.
Everybody understand that?
Yes. Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Innal bayt allazi tuqra'u fihi suratul Baqarah.
In your house recite Surah Al-Baqarah.
Indeed, in the houses where Suratul Baqarah is
Surah Al-Baqarah is
recited,
recited.
is it active voice or passive voice?
I see.
Active.
Passive voice. Why? Look at that. This is mudare. So the alamat mudare had the dhamma. The sakoon was remained the sakoon. It's supposed to be dhamma here, but we change into fatha,
Fatha.
and the last letter stayed dhamma. Taqra'u fihi suratul Baqarah. Who's the maful here? Who's the object?
Surah Al-Baqarah.
Is Suratul Baqarah knife file?
Yes.
Who's reading this? The
We.
people of the houses,
The
right?
people of the house.
Yes.
In this sentence, do we have to say that the house where the people of the house is reading the Surah Al-Baqarah, or is it understood?
Understood.
Understood. So that is the sentence where majhul is. This is a passive voice. La yadkhulhu shaytanu. Then what happens in that house where the Surah Al-Baqarah is recited?
Shaitan will not
Doesn't enter.
Shaitan does
doesn't
not enter or cannot enter. Yeah?
Mm.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, I want to explain one thing about this sentence here. Will explain to you that sometimes we have to write